Hello, my name is Nolan Outlaw, and I'm an assistant professor of mathematics in the Math and Physics department. In this video, I'm going to show you a tour of my Math 143 course as part of my Epic Master certification. Before we start the tour, I'd like to highlight some of the changes that I made as part of this Epic Master certification. I created videos for each of the topics covered in the class in order to show students examples of me working out problems and all of the steps required to answer those problems. I also have Desmos activities, which are interactive lessons for students to work through. These activities are graded, but they are lower stakes assignments for students to work through before moving on to the more important and higher weighted assignments for the course. The last major change I made for the Epic Master certification is incorporating Flipgrid discussions for the students. Typically, I use text-based discussions, but using Flipgrid allows the students an opportunity to interact with each other in a similar way that they would for a face-to-face meeting. When students first log into this course at the beginning of the semester, they're taken to the Getting Started section. So I'm going to start our course tour there. Inside of the Getting Started section, the first item students see is a welcome video. In this video, I introduce myself and explain to students how to begin this class. The first thing I ask them to do is to complete the FERPA agreement and course entry quiz using the main menu items to the left. The video continues by explaining to students what's in each of the remaining menu items to the left and what types of materials students will find there. The next item in the Getting Started section is a welcome message that shares essentially the same information that the video shares, except it's written in text here. The sections in this item share a purpose for the course along with tips for succeeding this semester. The next section explains how the course is organized and again shares with the students the types of items and materials that are located in each of the main menu sections to the left. The next section lists a few resources that Wake Tech offers and concludes with a link to the student support area that covers all of the resources Wake Tech offers. The final section there provides students an enumerated list that tells them exactly what to do next to get started with the class. The last two items in the Getting Started section are copies of the course syllabus and schedule of instruction. Both of these items are hidden using adaptive release and will only become visible once students have completed the FERPA agreement and course entry quiz. The next section I'd like to look at is the faculty information section. Inside of the faculty information section, students have access to my email address, office phone number, and office location. They also have access to my office hours. The final section in the faculty information area lists my background at Wake Tech, my educational background, and a few personal details about me. The next section I'd like to look at is the lessons section. The first item in the lessons area is an introduction to this section that explains to students the structure of the lessons area. This item is available at the beginning of the course, but the weekly folders below are unavailable to students until they've completed both the course entry quiz and the FERPA agreement. Each of the folders in the lessons area correspond to a week of the course. They're titled as Week 1, Week 2, Week 3, and the dates that those weeks cover are also listed in the description. During the weeks that tests occur, the test information is also posted inside of the description for that weekly folder. The test information includes the times that the test is available and the date that it must be completed by. Let's look inside of the Week 1 folder. Each weekly folder has a similar structure. The folder begins with a list of learning objectives. Following the learning objectives is a checklist of tasks that should be completed for the week. Inside of this checklist, all work that is graded has a due date that's included in bold. Below the checklist is a link to that week's Teams meeting. I meet with this class once a week for an optional class meeting. That meeting is recorded through Teams, and I post a link to that recording inside of each folder once the video is uploaded to Microsoft Stream. Below the Teams meeting link is the discussion board for the week. Each discussion is completed using Flipgrid. I outline the expectation for each week's discussion, along with including some bullet points that students may use to get started. I try to create a more laid-back tone to these discussions to hopefully simulate the type of interactions that students would have with each other if they were meeting in a face-to-face class. Below the discussion, in the Week 1 folder is a note about Desmos grades. Desmos is a website that students use to complete graded assignments for the class. Since those grades don't automatically sync to Blackboard, I've included a note here that explains to students those grades will not automatically sync and to not worry when they complete an activity and don't see the grade reflected in Blackboard. I update these Desmos grades at the beginning of each week once the due date has passed for the previous week. Below that note is the specific content for the week. Each topic for the class includes a PowerPoint that explains to students all of the information they need to know for that particular topic. Each topic for the class is also accompanied by a video that I've created showing several examples of problems students will encounter related to that topic. Each topic also has an associated Desmos activity. These Desmos activities are interactive lessons that are intended to give students an opportunity to work with the material and answer some questions in a more low stakes assignment before they begin completing higher stakes assignments for the week. The next item inside of the Week 1 folder relates to pie charts and bar graphs, and it's outlined the exact same way. A PowerPoint, followed by a video that I've created, followed by a Desmos activity. To conclude each weekly folder, there are graded assignments. The graded assignments are typically minor labs and major labs. Most of the minor lab assignments are completed as a Blackboard test. When students begin completing major labs, those labs are free response and require students to type work and show work using Excel and to submit that work to me for specific feedback on what they've done. The very last item in each of the weekly folders is answer keys to ungraded labs for the week. This MAT143 class has a lab manual that includes a lot of labs for students to complete. Some of those are graded as minor labs, and some of those are ungraded and are left for the students as additional practice problems. I include the answer keys to those practice problems at the bottom of each weekly folder. Next, I'd like to look inside of the Week 3 folder. The Week 3 folder is structured the exact same way as the Week 1 folder and every other folder in the course. It begins with the learning objectives, followed by a checklist, followed by my proposed work schedule for the week, followed by the team's meeting, and then we get to the content for the week. This week's content is apportionment, and like always, that content comes with an associated PowerPoint, and this week there are 4 videos that outline each of the apportionment methods students are expected to know at the end of the week. That item concludes with a link to the Desmos activity students should complete for apportionment. The content item is followed by the discussion in Flipgrid, and then we get to the graded work for the week. For week 3, the students have an apportionment minor lab that will be submitted as a Blackboard test, but then they have a major lab as well. I came to the week 3 folder to show you how the major labs work as compared to the minor labs. The major labs are completed with students using Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel in order to show the work that they're using to come up with the answers to the assignment. When students are finished with the lab, they will submit their work as an attachment using this link. Once that work is submitted, I grade it and provide specific feedback on the work that the students have shown. Once again, that folder ends with answer keys to ungraded labs for the week. The next section we'll look at is the collaboration section. Inside of the collaboration section, students have links to all of the weekly discussion boards. This information is posted inside of each of the weekly folders, but I like to include it here to give students an easy way to access all of the discussion information for the course. The next area I want to look at is the course resources area. Inside of the course resources area, students again have a copy of the course syllabus and the schedule of instruction. The next item there is a link to download the lab manual. This lab manual contains the labs that I mentioned earlier. Next in that section is a document that explains to students how to download Microsoft Teams. We use Microsoft Teams for our optional weekly class meetings. The next item in the course resources section is the STEM Center schedule. That's followed by the ILC tutoring links, and then that's followed by the attendance policy. Below the attendance policy is the communication expectation that students should follow as they communicate with me and every other person in the class. At the bottom of the course resources section are links to download Adobe Flash Player and Adobe PDF Viewer. Each of these will be necessary for viewing some of the content related to the class this semester. In the event students don't have these items downloaded on their computer, I like to provide links inside of course resources. The next section I'm going to look at is the announcement section. At the beginning of the semester, students are greeted in the announcement section with a welcome message. Inside of this welcome message, I explain to students what they need to do in order to begin the class. The first thing I direct them to do is to go to the Getting Started area and watch the welcome video that I've posted there. After that, students are told to complete the FERPA agreement and the course entry quiz. Then, they're told to check out the lesson section and to become familiar with the general layout of the course. As the course progresses, I post announcements each week explaining to the students what's expected. I post announcements twice a week, once on Mondays at the beginning of the week, and then once on Thursdays after our class meeting has ended in Teams and the recording link is posted inside of that week's folder. In each of these announcements, I explain to students what's due for the week, including due dates, and also encourage them to reach out to me if they have any questions. As other important items come up throughout the week, I will post additional announcements as necessary. This concludes the tour of my Math 143 course.